Time for Ask the Mayor on KWVE with Beatrice Mayor Stan Worth. Give us a call if you have a question about city issues, anything on your mind about what the city of Beatrice is doing. 402-228-5923. Good morning, Mayor.
Morning, Doug. Nice to be here again.
Great to have you here. We're coming down on kind of the last few shows when, probably toward the end of November, I suppose.
End of November, the third Thursday in November will more than likely be the last program.
There will be, because you have that switch over the first meeting, if I remember right.
That is correct. I think it's December the 6th. Whoever is at the helm will take over the gavel at the city council meeting.
Yeah. Looking forward to it?
Oh, kind of. I mean, there's projects that are started that I will not see completed, but that's fine. It's always going to be that way, that there's always projects started. You won't see the completion of it. And for that, I'm a little disappointed, but by the same token, I think all the processes are in place to see everything to fruition.
And lots of projects take 4 or 5 years to
They
get
do,
done.
and it's very time-consuming in city government, state government, any government, of trying to get some things done just because of the processes that you have to go through, the transparency procedures that you have to go through. It just takes time.
Yeah. Well, yesterday, Board of Public Works held one of their meetings for the month, and the topic was the 1- and 6-year street plan, which always kind of goes from the standpoint that the first year is pretty much set. The second year is, for the most part, set.
Pretty much set.
Then you get into years 3 through 6. It's kind of what you would like to do and what's going to fit in.
And those years are fairly fluid, but this is a formality that we certainly have to provide to the state of Nebraska because we receive funds from the state of Nebraska through different taxing entities. And the one-year program is going to be, we budgeted about $968,000 for that. The project cost is going to be about $991,000, today's costs. And so that leaves us about $23,000 short. But we have some reserves in the street department fund that we can make up that difference.
11th Street and South 13th are kind of the two
That is
biggest
correct.
ones.
Lincoln Street to Monroe, that was a project that was destined or designed to be done this year, but because of contractual arrangements that the contractor coming in had previous, we just had to put this off until this next fiscal year. Same way with 13th Street, Beaver to Oak. That is a concrete reconstruction program. That'll be a big project next year, and that is one that was held over again until this next fiscal year, but it will be completed sometime early summer.
Kind of interesting, you found out some information about that South 13th. The thought was that there was a sewer collapse there, and that was the problem, and you kind of found out something different about that.
Well, there's areas, because we had a company come in and do some boring just to determine what the base is actually like. That makes a big difference in the bidding process and the costs. If we know going in that the base is compromised, the costs are going to be higher. Found out, however, through the boring process, that there are some areas that is just 4 inches thick. And that creates a real problem if you've got a lot of traffic, and there is a lot of traffic on that stretch of City Street. So what we're going to do is at least put down 6 inches of concrete for this next project, and hopefully that will sustain everything and we don't have to worry about the base.
I know it wasn't included as part of the plan, but there was a little bit of discussion about, do you have the possibility of putting in a trail connection on the west side of that street that would hook up to the trail in Chautauqua Park there? How realistic do you think that is as far as working that in?
I think it's pretty realistic. The city has a right-of-way of 66 feet, and it would be on the west side of Oak Street when you would go from 13th and Beaver north to the WPC plant. There is just a little bit of a rock trail that you walk around the WPC locked gate, and that is your access to Chautauqua Park. If we're going to do this reconstruction project, it'd be kind of nice to have it concrete and make the access a little easier for bikers and walkers and everything else.
Make a connection to what is kind of a growing area, too, out toward the Beatrice Country Club. There are a lot of homes there over the past few years.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of people walking and biking out there, too. I know that.
There's a lot of people getting their exercise, and mental health issues seem to go away once you start exercising just a little bit.
Can't work every day for every hour.
That's exactly right.
Tough. So you're getting pretty close to the end of your downtown. Oh, wait, I guess I did want to talk about a couple of things on the 1 and 6 year plan before we go to that. A couple of big things that are on the list fairly quickly are streets associated with the school site. Lincoln Street, also South 33rd, a portion of that there. The big question is, how will you fund that? Where will the money come from, and who will share in that cost? And I guess, that's still to be settled somewhat?
Still to be settled. We have some ARPA dollars and some CARES Act dollars that we could throw at this. Again, we have some reserves in our street department. We want to make sure that we have some reserves in our street department, but right now they're just a little excessive. And we can't sit there and as Jason Moore told everybody at the Board of Public Works meeting yesterday, we cannot hoard this money because we're filling out reports to the state of Nebraska, letting them know where we stand. But we also let them know where our projects are. For instance, the Lincoln Street project that was held over, that bolstered our reserves quite a bit. That will go away next year. But the school, I think, has tentatively agreed to share in some of that cost because it's going to be expensive. It's going to be concrete, and it's going to be a thickness that is going to accommodate school buses and maybe a little heavier truck traffic. So it's necessary that we put it together, we do it right, and we have the exact thickness because it's something that's going to last or needs to last a long time.
Are there any other potential sources of funding other than the school and the city to fund that?
There is. We have actually applied for some federal grants under the Infrastructure Act that was passed by the Senate and Congress. Now, the likelihood of getting that is 50-50. And the likelihood of getting what we ask for is probably slim. But by the same token, whatever we get is going to help and will be thrown at this project.
Then there also is a section of Lincoln, I think a little bit farther west of there, that you'd like to kind of make sure that's done too, so it provides a connection to what will be the Lincoln Corridor project eventually.
That is correct.
Yeah. Yep. And is that concrete too to that point? Or
it is.
Okay.
We're hoping that the entire 6th and Lincoln all the way to 33rd Street at some point in time is all concrete.
The Lincoln Corridor project, there was some discussion during the 1 and 6 year discussion before the board yesterday about, do you kind of bite that off in 3 block sections and kind of go as what you have funding for?
Right.
Do you say, hey, let's go the route of a bond issue, do it all at once, minimize the disruption? Any thoughts on where you might be headed on that?
I think a bond issue is the way to go. I think you rip the Band-Aid off one time and you start the project and you get it done. And because time is money. And if you do a certain section this year and you're going to do another section next year, you're going to have increased costs. You're going to have mobilization costs from the contractors. You may have a different contractor. And so there would be a bidding process that you would have to go through for each project. I think it makes more sense to just get it done.
Now, some bond issues, you can issue them as revenue bonds and fees take part of it. In this case, would it be more of a general obligation bond?
More of a general obligation bond.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, would that be something that has to go to a vote of people? Or
that's a great question. I don't know that I can answer that. That would be our legal counsel's recommendation.
Neither one of us are attorneys, so I guess we can't deal with that.
You're right.
Thought I'd ask it anyway in case there was an answer out there. But there's a lot of, throughout the plan, year 1 to year 6, and of course the out years are less certain, but there's a lot of big projects in there. I think, Hoyt Street, there was another potential there as well.
Real potential there simply because, and this is farther out in the 1 and 6 year road plan, but you have to plan ahead. That land that is today farm ground just to the north of Hoyt Street is prime for building residential homes. And if that's the case, then at some point in time, Hoyt Street would have to be reconstructed, redone, and put in the necessary city amenities to accommodate those new houses.
Get a lot of traffic to Hannibal Park, too.
And a lot of traffic to Hannibal Park.
Plus, then east of there, you have the apartment complex and some other homes in that area, too.
And then BSDC is right there, and a lot of people use that access or use that street to access BSDC today.
Okay. Back with more on Ask the Mayor with Beatrice Mayor Stanworth in just a moment. You're listening to Ask the Mayor with Beatrice Mayor Stanworth today on KWBE. As I mentioned earlier, you're nearing the end of the downtown loan redevelopment loan program, and that got to be pretty close to exhausting that, aren't you, as far as money?
Yes. The last one that we just received all the paperwork on is for the theaters downtown. And the first one that we approved several months ago for Vintage Venue, they have met all the criteria, and now they have received the green light to go ahead and get started on their project, which is another access out of the building, an exit access out of the building, because they want to go up in their building design and utilize that second floor, so there would be a fire escape access just to satisfy the state fire marshal and the city's requirements.
Those downtown redevelopment grant programs have done a lot of good. They've changed some things.
Absolutely. And it is assisting those businesses that, for whatever reason, may not have the ability to sustain themselves, gives them just a bit of a shot on the arm to keep going. And I commend the City Council for being very proactive, pro-business in our community.
Some other things regarding the downtown, you were telling me before the program that the demolition at 413 Court is going to get underway here.
All the Skyline trucks are lined up there today. I think they're going to go in and do an assessment of what actually needs to be done today. And then my thought is they are going to start from the rear or the south side of the building and work their way to the north. And that will be I'm not a contractor, so that's kind of my assumption. That's what's going to happen. But it gives them the ability to take all the debris, put it in dump trucks and roll-offs and that kind of thing in the alley access area, as opposed to right on Highway 136.
Any idea about how long the entire project?
I really don't. It just depends on what they get into, Doug. My guess it's going to be probably a 2-month project. Hopefully it's not that long, but I think we should plan on that.
I was trying to recall how long it took at 407 Court when you took that one down. It was at least a couple or 3 weeks.
I think so. Yeah. But again, it depends on what they run into. Yeah. The two buildings adjacent have been stabilized, and hopefully it all goes without a hitch and more walls don't come tumbling down.
Yeah. Any news on the Kensington, the downtown hotel, which had to be vacated there? Any thoughts?
I have no update on that. Okay. We're actually going to sit down with a couple of other folks from Main Street and some other individuals to try to get an update on some of these buildings next week. And so I'll have maybe a little more information as we go along in subsequent programs.
Does that include the former J.C. Penney building across the street?
It does,
okay.
Yes.
All right, okay. Maybe just a quick update on, I was wondering if there was anything regarding the bond financing on the new fire station, how that is going. I know seems like sales tax figures have been pretty healthy, and there was a set amount of time that it would take to, of course, pay that project off. But any change on that schedule as far as when it would be paid off?
It depends on, again, how we continue to receive our sales tax dollars. Total sales tax are up 8% compared to last year. That's really good news. And all the sales tax dollars that are generated through the half cent earmarked for the fire station goes to bond repayment debt. And if we can continue on this pace of an increase, any increase is great year over year, but if we can continue on this pace, we hope we can cut off a couple of years. And it was really designed to be about a 8 to 9 year program, but if sales tax dollars continue to increase like they are, again, the positive side of me says we should be able to pay it off early.
So, wondering how much of that increase is tied to just inflationary pressures. Things are
could be
costing
inflationary
more
pressure,
and,
but we've had a lot of activity in our community, and it's not just local citizens that pay the sales tax that goes to the fire station. It's all of the visitors that come to our community. So anything that Homestead Days, we got people that come from all over the Homestead Historical Park, and all the visitors that they receive. We talk about the visitors that come in to play softball, baseball.
Had a big summer there, I have a feeling.
A huge summer, and that's not going to subside. I think that's always going to continue and always grow.
No matter how high things get in costs, you still got to live and you still got to buy things, and
you still have to have those recreation activities and follow your kids wherever they go.
And one of the offshoots of that is a higher sales tax revenue for City of Beatrice. That's good. Anything new regarding both the Dempster property and then east of there, the Hoover Group property?
Hoover Group buildings for sale, as you know, and I don't know that there has been much play on that. I am really not in that loop. We can reach out to the real estate broker to find out a little more information. I think that broker's out of Omaha. But at this point, I have really no information on it. EPA is still doing their assessments of the Dempster building. We talk about things that take a long time and take forever to get accomplished, and this is just another one where it just is ongoing and continues. And hopefully one day they say, tear her down.
Before we take another break here, I noticed this week, Tuesday, Wednesday evenings, mosquito spraying. That's probably about the last one for the year, isn't it?
Yeah, I heard the truck go by our place not too long ago. Matter of fact, I think it was earlier this week, maybe Monday night. And you can certainly tell exactly what it is with the loud purring sound of the motor. It's not so much a purr.
Is it just me, or was the mosquito season maybe not as bad just owing to the fact that it's kind of a drought situation?
It was dry.
And not a lot of standing water that you would see, like, what was it, 3 years ago, 2019, when we had all that rain in the spring, and we kind of had a pretty wet summer too, and probably a lot bigger bug problem along with it. So.
Yeah, this will be the last spraying that we do. They only do the spraying when the mosquito count at the different containers that we have spread around the community show that there is a need for it. We did have a rain last Saturday night, I think it was, and it doesn't take them long to multiply. So I think it was probably justified to go ahead and get this done.
And we already need more rain, even after that one. So it's
You said tonight.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Who knows?
All right.
If it doesn't, I guess they'll blame me. So
okay.
It's okay. We'll be back to wrap up Ask the Mayor in just a moment. A few minutes left on Ask the Mayor today with Mayor Stan Worth. I haven't been down there lately, but judging by the note on the city's Facebook page, looks like the pickleball courts are almost ready.
Getting a lot closer.
Yeah.
You're right. And this is just the perfect time of the year for the opening of the pickleball courts, just because the temperatures are going to subside and make it just a little more comfortable to be out and exercise, even though I like to do it when it's really warm. I love warm weather, so it wouldn't affect me too much. This is really a growing popular sport. It's amazing. The single matches are pretty fast, but if you watch a doubles match, it's really quick, and so it can almost get dangerous. But it's fun to. It reminds me of racquetball.
Yeah.
And if you're, that's a fast sport, and this is too.
People have compared it to kind of a smaller version of tennis, also badminton to a certain extent. And the great thing about it is because you have smaller courts with it, it can be played by all ages.
All ages.
But all ages seem to be interested in it,
Right,
too, all the way
right.
from the young to the very...
And believe it or not, there's professional pickleball players.
Yeah.
And if you see them on ESPN or
Yeah.
something like that, they're really good.
Yeah, there's all kinds of new sports that are showing up on ESPN that
I know.
I've never heard of. I have no idea. But
I watched Highline the other night. Boy, that's boring.
yeah. It's probably a space filler for late in the night or something like that. One more weekend of the splash pad at Sertoma Astro Park, and looks like the weather's going to cooperate for that, too.
Especially this weekend. It's supposed to be quite warm this weekend, but that has been a really nice venue for a lot of young families to take their kids, and they can sit on a park bench, read a book, and watch their kids without any danger of anything really happening.
And I think you have a grant application pending on a playground there, too.
We do. And that'll be kind of nice to get rid of some of the old, outdated equipment that has been there for many, many years. I can't remember exactly when that park was put in, but it's been a long, long time ago.
Yeah. Nice addition to that northeast part of Beatrice
I would
there.
agree.
And easy walking distance for a lot of families that have children there. We have some events coming up a week from today. I think they start at 10 a.m. It's kind of a joint ribbon cutting of several facilities, and it's at the Gage County Foundation Trailhead Park by Dempster there.
Right. I think they're going to not only do the ribbon cutting in commemoration of the donation that Gage County Foundation gave to the city, and of course then we named it Gage County Foundation Trail Depot, but also there's going to be a triple ribbon cutting ceremony with the new bike station improvements that were put into the park area, and also the river access. So it's just going to kind of notate those things that have occurred this year and some of it last year, just to bring more attention to it, let people know that it's there, and it's there for their convenience and using.
Seems like it'd be a good time of year for canoeing or kayaking when you get a little bit of temperature moderation. You're going to see trees kind of changing color eventually and going down the Big Blue, which isn't flooding, which is great. And it's been at a fairly low level, so maybe some interest in fall recreation there.
I would agree.
So, also, I should mention on Thursday too. I think it starts around 5:30 or 6. I don't know the exact time, but you're going to have the police department, public safety agencies from the city and county will be taking part in a Community Connections Carnival, as they call it this time. It's kind of an idea that started a few years back on North 5th Street between Court and Ella. It's been moved to Charles Park, but it gives people a chance to meet with their public safety officials and also provide them some help, too.
Well, it helps the community connect with law enforcement, with our EMTs, any of the first responders. I think it's just a great opportunity for that connection. Parents can bring their children out. They can sit in the fire trucks and just have a good understanding of what equipment is in the fire trucks, what equipment is in the ambulances that we have, and, talk to some of the police officers and find out that they're just like you and me, Doug.
They're easy to talk to, too. That's one thing I've noticed about all of our public safety people. They're very community-minded and involved.
And they're willing to engage you.
Yeah. The other thing, too, that's important about that is that if a family has some special needs that they have for their family members in a response, an emergency response, information that police and fire may need to know before they're going there, that this is a way to sort of develop a kind of a log of that information.
And I think that's a really good point. So you take into consideration they're going down a street and they know or by registering, they know that there is a child in one of the households, maybe not the household they're going to, but along that street that is autistic, that really creates some triggers in that child or individual. They'll know full well that it's time to turn the siren off and just go with the emergency lights.
Everybody benefits. Everybody has a little bit of fun, too. Some free food, and it'll be a good time next Thursday night at Charles Park. Have a city council meeting coming up on Monday night, and seems like we have one of these every week.
That's every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. And sometimes a work session, occasionally toward the end of the week. Anything of note on the agenda?
Well, we're going to have a public hearing to amend the fiscal year 2022 budget, just because there's a couple of things that have occurred where we've got to move money around. It doesn't increase the budget or change anything dramatically. It is just moving money around to accommodate for different scenarios where we supplement the general fund budget in part because of the retirements of Linda Cook and Chief Bruce Lang. So that is going to be modified. Also, the street increase of $330,000 because we received a couple of dump trucks in 2022. Ordered them early on, but now just received them, so got to pay for them.
Supply chain issues really creating some confusion, aren't they?
Also going to talk about a fireworks ordinance where we're going to talk about modifying where we are today. It may not mirror the state's regulations, which is June 24th through July 5th. Through July 4th. It more likely is going to be in that neighborhood of June 28th through the 4th.
As far as nighttime cutoff, are you going toward maybe a standardized?
I think we're going to try to do a standardized time. If you start staggering different days and different times, you've got all kinds of enforcement issues. So it'd be kind of nice to just go to a standardized time.
All right, Mayor, we'll see you Monday night then.
See you Monday night, Doug.